Hello everyone and welcome to a brand new Space Engineers tutorial. So this video is actually a request I've gotten quite a bit, and that is to do large grid tank design. So the one I have as a standard is this one. This is a Cerberus built by Hunter. Again, what can I say? Hunter builds the best military hardware in Space Engineers, I feel. So his stuff is always great to use for examples. So this large grid tank, it kind of goes from both being a tank and also a large grid kind of home roving rover. Try saying that very fast. Anyway, it has jet engines at the back, a landing pad on top, and the little entrance is actually concealed by this turret. So you pop in, we've got radar scripting, cryopod, medical room, and of course the seat, as well as programmable blocks should you choose to make this tank AI powered. I will say, large grid tanks, this is just kind of scraping the surface of what you can do, because there are some seriously large ones that you can make, and I'll just pop them on screen now. But obviously we're not going to make one of those for this video because that would be a bit impractical. So obviously we're going to place down the landing gear first, and then some heavy blocks on top. So we're just going to do a little line here and place the wheels either side, and basically just do a base. So we'll just place a little triangle to remind us this is the front. And now we'll get cracking. And we're back after a slight recording glitch and this whole thing flipping over. We have now got a full base, so I'll just quickly talk you around it. Literally, it's just we've gone up from where the wheels are, we've created wheel arches, all heavy armor, and then we've kind of linked up the back a bit. We've done some reeling on the front and added headlamps. We may add a few more and we'll probably change around a few more details later. We've also put just some batteries in the middle and a control seat just to firstly make sure that the parking brake is actually on, and also to put these wheel strengths at 100% power and 100% strength so the whole craft actually supports it. Do be careful when putting the wheels to 100% because things like this can happen. If we just put the strength down to 0, you think if you put it up, your whole thing jumps. So, yeah, don't do that because, yes, that can happen. Now, I'm aware it does look a little boxy, but don't worry, we are going to sort all of that out very shortly. But yeah, so the next plan to do is essentially just figure out a flat base to work on, and essentially we're going to build the rim of the tank round. Sort of like there is like a bit of a rim here, but not really. But what we're going to do with this rim is we're going to build it as a mounting point for turrets, as well as a shielding from explosion to the side as well. So yeah, we'll just crack on with that. And there we are. We've just built this skirt on, and essentially what we're going to do is we're going to mount turrets here and potentially here, and then build this bodywork up to mesh with that quite nicely. So the idea is that you can build a lot of lower defenses on this so that smaller tanks can't come along and get under your guard, or indeed players try and sneak under here to go and grind down your wheels. Right, so the interesting thing here is you can either do something like this down on each side of the wheels and have these kind of inset like this, so they're a lot difficult to target. Equally, you could just leave it like this. I'm angling for more of like this, so I'm actually going to take this whole section off and just kind of leave it how it was. But just to, you know, demonstrate that that is what you can do with some of these builds. Ooh, whoops-a-daisy. And then we can simply do... just create the lip round here. Like so. Whack the... oh, that's the wrong corner block. There it is. And voila. So what we can do now is we can just go around and just put the block on... where is it? Nope, not the wheel block. This block and this block. And then here, it means basically what we can do is we can just take that out, take that out, do this and that, then do heavy armor, heavy armor, heavy armor, heavy armor. And that now adds a bit more detail into this. To the point now that we can even do something like this. To kind of use these together. Oh, there we go. And that makes the whole kind of front and back look a little more aesthetically pleasing. And we're just going to whack another turret inside here. There we go. Oh, we've missed this block here. There we are. And now, of course, the obvious thing to do is we need to actually need to make sure we put conveyor tubes down. So that will probably mean just quickly deleting these turrets and just putting the conveyor tubes behind them. And there we are, we've got our conveyor system done. And yeah, I think we're just going to kind of go up now. We're just going to kind of see if we can just kind of go up like this to kind of mount on the front. Essentially, am I even going from the front? No, I'm going from the back. Oopsie. Well, but we'll do the same kind of thing. I just think we'll probably make the back a little more pointy because I want to put a landing pad up there. But yeah, we're just going to continue on like this. We're probably going to do some little kind of cutout details here, do something interesting with it. Oh, whoops. Oh, whoops, I'm in a real pig there, this, aren't I? For some reason my mouse just keeps double clicking. Right. We may do some cool details like this to kind of break up the form a bit and just add some rebuilding. In fact, it's probably better that this is actually won over. Oh dear. If we make this one over. Uh, so that lines up with that. That is potentially better greebling. But yeah, we're just going to continue building this up. And there we are, we've built up the top. I think the size of that, I've done some detailing there and I think that looks quite nice. Overall, it's shaping up to be significantly bigger than that. I will say, I do want to test its driving ability, because that's something I am a little worried about. Okay. Ooh. That's not great, is it? Hmm. Let's turn down the friction a bit, see if we get a bit more... Oh no, that's not helped at all. Turn friction up a bit. Better. Okay, I think the main trouble is actually weight. Because of building most of it out, it's basically all heavy armor. I wonder how much, like, you know, if we just switch it to light, of, you know, how much we can actually get away with. Because I'm fairly sure that Hunter's tank over here is mostly all heavy. Yeah. It's heavy armor and blast doors. If we actually pop in and check the weight. Yeah, that's like... That's only 5 million weight-wise, whereas this is substantially more. Yeah, this is like double the weight. So I reckon what we'll do is when we're done, we'll start basically taking bits off and making bits lighter. Oh, I mean, we'd immediately save weight with some of these. But yeah, that is something you will have to kind of watch a little more with your bigger builds. The fact that the weight won't be great for some of the wheels. I will say one thing we should probably check is how well this actually drives as well. Ah, this has got thrusters on it. So, to help, okay, so we can potentially add thrusters on the back. But, yeah, we can potentially swap out the rear lamp for giant thrusters and just have those on the back. And we can probably put, thrusters behind those. That could look quite cool. But yeah, we can definitely fit some thruster banks here. Now, while building all of this, I had kind of a silly idea, okay? And that is, we do have this Archon battery. I just thought this tank is big enough to have it, so I feel like us having a giant Archon battery on it would totally be, like, would be a bit nuts. But I just thought, you know, what? Why the fuck not? So I'm just going to create like a quick border with these blocks. And then we're just going to stick the entire Archon battery. Oh, 1,500 millimeters. Okay, yeah. Will it fit? Oh, yeah, no, it... Okay, it's the fact that we've put those block borders up. That's not helping. Okay, what we'll do is we'll do something like that. And then we'll go for the Archon. Oh. Right, oh, we need to... I mean, it works. Look at that. Just rock up to fucking end your days. This is like the destroyer of worlds. I think I may place it one further back, or two further back, potentially. I was originally going to have a landing pad on the back of this, but, 1,000 millimeter Archon go brrr. Right. I need to, like... I need to do that, I think. Go one further back and... Yes! Perfect! This actually sort of works now. And then I can... What I'll do is I'll take this off and we'll literally just do half blocks kind of around it to shield bits of the base. But I mean, you see that coming towards you, you're gonna surrender. Right. So we want Oh, right. So we'll want basically something like this, and then... Yeah, we'll basically want to do some kind of just basically skirting around that with heavy armor blocks. Right, there we are. That this looks ridiculous, but I love it. Okay, we're gonna go in, and I think, oh wow, right. I also think probably one of the biggest problems with weight is also going to be the amount of just batteries I put in here. So we're just gonna take all the batteries out as well, and just check the weight. Yeah. Okay. Right. So what we'll want to do is we'll want to probably put in a reactor or something. And yeah, to be fair though, we can probably get like full living quarters and like refineries and stuff in here in the sense that we could potentially make this an entire base in here. So I feel like that's probably what we're going to do. And we're also going to kind of see how far down we can almost go in this. So if we start taking out a bunch of this armor and we start... Okay, so I reckon that we can make this space our living quarters. We can make this over here the ceiling and call that a day. And then we can potentially put like gyroscope the heavy. Hang on. How much armor's going through? Right, that's straight to the outside. Okay. So I don't like the idea of there being only one layer of heavy in this direction. And what about here? We've got... Okay, we've got three layers of heavy in that direction. So we're gonna put a... We're gonna put 2 layers across here. And we'll leave it at that, because we can potentially mount stuff along these walls, like oxygen, and so on. Now, though, we can basically afford to start going down. Because all we really need is, like, 2 layers off the bottom of the ship. Really. Or maybe 3. But the more essentially we can take off, and we can actually turn into rooms. Rooms are actually a great space saver. Because you can do... Oh, dear. Right. Oh, we've already hit the wheel. Okay. So what we want to do then is we want to do something like that for the wheel arches. Because we could just make this like an entire faction mini base in here. Right. So now we almost want to do this, really. Yeah, so we've hit the wheel arches here. So we almost just want to do... At these top areas of the wheel arches, we almost just want to do this. Make sure everything's fully protected. And then what we want is we want to have... like the driver's seat kind of, yeah, almost... I would say almost directly below the entrance, but then I feel that's always a bit of a bad place to have it. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to be sneaky about it. It is going to be directly below, but you're not originally going to go that way. You're actually going to go into a corridor and go along. And that way we can mount a... We can mount a room here. We can... We'll, you know what, we'll wall this off unless we decide to turn it into a corridor. And we'll have main engineering at the back. So what we're going to do now... This is going to be basically the main floor. So yeah, so what we actually do need to do is take this out. And then put in this. The main ceiling, and then we go out into the major rooms. Right. The next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to disassemble the back and actually put some engines in. Right, so now I've just wired reactors in there, and we're just going to wall it off, and then we can basically just create like a corridor thing here. Oh my goodness, this mouse, I swear. Just anytime I click, sometimes it just does a double click for no reason. There we are. So now we can actually put reactors in. With the stairs that they actually work, it's actually a reactor room. What we can probably do now is I think we can just put a vent at the end of this corridor here. Because as well, if you're using this on a... yeah, air vent full block. There we are. We'll just rig that there, and then we can put doors either side. Doors either side. There we are. And then we can make this part of a corridor, as we could just corridor all the way down here. And then if we come to the back and just say, oh, the Archon battery's gone. We've got basically, oh, flip, hang on. There we go. I love the fact that that's on the access terminals as well. Oh, I've placed it the wrong way. Oopsie. We also need to... yeah, we also need to place a conveyor port. Oh, stupid thing. Okay, we need to place a conveyor port going like that. What is it? No, that's the end bringer. Where's the Archon battery gone? Archon battery. Yeah, we can go with the middle one, right? Oh, come on. You gonna place? Why are you not placing? This is weird. There we are. Perfect. Right, let's hop inside and let's see if we can make sure where we can find where the conveyor's going. Is that's not going into the Archon point at all, is it? Right. Let's dig around, see if we can... Ah! I wasn't... Okay, it wasn't far off. Okay, let's rig that conveyor junction up. There we go. Take that out. Right. So now we can also work on doing the bridge kind of thing. I reckon what we'll do is we'll stick the... we'll stick staircases maybe off to the side here. Or maybe here. And then we can head down into here, and then we could have the bridge here. So now we need to control the... Okay, this isn't too bad. Oh, okay, the thrusters worked. The acceleration isn't too bad. It's not fantastic. Oh, what's going on at the front there? There's something being placed at the front there that I did not mean to do. Okay. But I reckon as well we can probably set up some internal thruster bays to make sure that this also goes very smoothly. Where do we put the... Did I just cover up the staircases? I may have done. Oh well, we'll just put a hole in the floor for now. Yeah. Yeah, I did cover up where the staircases were going to be. Oopsie. Right. Let's go fix what's at the front. Oh shit. Delete that. Delete that. Oh, what's going on here? This, then... This. Fixed. Right. So I think all that's really left to do is just most of the interior now. Right, so I think we're roughly done with the interior apart from just the LCDs, I think. We're just literally going to whack in a LCD panel here. No, not like that. We're going to do this, and... Oh, whoops. Heavy armor block. LCD panel. Like so. And then that way we can probably move the seat forward again. There we are. And that way we can rig up all our LCDs here. We should probably put some cameras on the outside. In the main deck, all I've literally done is just put couches down so they can carry troops. And that means as well, you could potentially put like a drop area here. Because all you'd really have to do is just kind of do that. And you've immediately got an instant way to drop a squad of soldiers out. So, you know what? We may actually do that. We'll just put a door on the bottom. And then another 2 doors at the top, just so it's harder for you to get in. And that way you can have a drop squad drop from there. We've got full life support here. Come out here, we've got the stairs up, and we've got a way into basically thruster area. Thruster pods will slow us down. We go up here. We've got a corridor out. We've got the connector up there as well, just for people to deposit stuff. We've got the large cargo conveyors. Got the cryopod area for sleeping. In here you've got double reactors. We're not using batteries for now. We maybe should put a couple in. I reckon maybe actually, if we just put some batteries here, here, and here. That should be out of range of those thrusters. But yeah, I reckon they can go there and be completely fine. And then, yeah, this isn't too bad. I mean, obviously, I think I would probably mount some cameras on the front and just around so you can see better. But, I mean, honestly, this is great as just a pretty, like, a mobile kind of base. We turn the brakes off. Yeah, we've got decent acceleration. It's mainly coming from the thrusters rather than anything else. Deceleration's not too bad as well. And I mean, honestly, you see this coming across the desert to, or just anywhere to, like, come and get you. You're, you know you're not going to be in for a fun time. I will say, the lack of landing pad is probably going to be a bit of an impact because, it does mean refueling this thing is going to be a bit of a pain. But in all honesty, all you really need to do is just drop a bit of uranium in and drop a bit of ammo in. And I mean, I reckon all we really kind of have to do for that is just bolt a connector along this outside bit here. Yeah, look, there's a conveyor line right here. Is this straight into the turret? Okay, that means the connector is routing all the way through the turret. I don't particularly want to do that. I want to give it its own conveyor line. So if we put the T-junction in here, then we put another T-junction like so, and then I reckon we can probably go down a bit to hit this conveyor line, where we can rig up a secondary T-junction, like so. Go up. There we are. And that way now we can rig another T-junction. And we can rig out something essentially like this. That'll do, because that way now you can dock a small ship on the back, or you can have a docking arm extend onto the back to immediately refuel your base. But in all honesty, like, I think this turned out a lot better than I expected, because first half, I was not expecting much. But honestly, I think this is pretty good. Obviously, it's nowhere near as good as that. And I mean, this is kind of... Oh my goodness, look how deep the treads are when you fly away and you just look. Oh, wow. Okay. Thing's very heavy. But honestly, this and the Cerberus, I feel like, should give you some idea of how to kind of sort your tanks out. I'm just going to give you a little flyby of the Cerberus, though, just so you can have a look. But honestly, the thing that is great about these tanks is, though costly, often, a lot of the time, they are an absolute pain to destroy. And I think they're a bit of an underrated... And I think they're a bit of a underrated vehicle, because you can very much, like, just rock up and ruin somebody's day with this, as well as having it as a mobile base. Anyway, there is one last thing to do, and that's just throw a little bit of paint on it. Honestly, I think that looks a lot better. We've just got simple grey, black and white just around here. Just a black as a bit of a secondary colour. Grey is a little bit of an accent, as well as just some black around here. And just decoration. Honestly, I don't think it looks too bad at all. I think it looks very nice. I think we may just use a bit of black on the wheels though. There we go. Very nice. And voila! I think we're just about done here. So yeah, thank you all very much for watching this video, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye!